This week on Hope City Overtime, we get real about shame, we get real about jealousy, and we talk about the Fast and the Furious. Make sure you like and subscribe. This is one you're not going to want to miss. Let's get it. Welcome to Hope City Overtime, a weekly podcast where we take a little more time to dive into Sunday's message. And this week we had kind of a special Sunday. Pastor John was here, so he went to 2 of the services, but because he was gone last week, all 4 of us got to preach the message. So we kicked him out of the podcast again this week because we only have 4 seats and 4 microphones, but he will be back next week. And we kicked off a new series, Family Bones, talking about dysfunctional families. So I want to start off by asking you your favorite family in a TV show or like movie franchise, either because you love their dynamic or you think they're so dysfunctional that it's entertaining and it makes you feel better about your life. Don't overthink it.
Max and Ruby. Did your kids ever watch Max and Ruby?
Never heard
Max
that one.
and Ruby. Dom is in the back. Whenever I would watch this cartoon with my mom, she would be so like taken back because it's all about a brother and a sister bunny. And their parents are nowhere to be found. And these 2 are just running amok in the neighborhood. And there's no adult supervision. And it makes you feel a lot better about my parenting. So, yeah.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
can see that.
I feel like I know what your answer is going to be, but maybe you're wrong.
Yeah. I don't even want to say it because
Does it rhyme with
last.
Mast and
curious?
Does it
Let me
have
tell you, when Fast and the Furious came out in 2000, that movie was fire.
was fire?
Unfortunately, the last 3 or 4 installments.
The fire has dwindled.
Yeah, it's gotten a little embarrassing for me, but I
I
hold
feel like
on
when we got
to
to like Fast and Furious 15, things were starting to head down the decline.
When they went
yeah.
into outer space.
Oof, when
That
they
was
went
a
out to
rough
outer
one.
space, it was rough. But again, for me, I love the family dynamic, and I always loved seeing a group of like diverse people together connecting. Like I love that image. So in 2000, the thing was set up just right, and they kept me for a good little while. Now I still watch it because I got to see how it ends. But
And honestly, I think you do right by it because I have a more positive thinking towards that franchise than I did before I knew you.
yeah,
Because I just am not interested in cars. Like,
yeah.
I thought there was nothing in it for me, but you convinced me it's about family enough that I watched
about
almost a
family.
whole movie.
Almost a whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh my
There's-
gosh.
There's stuff
Well, it's
in
just
it.
because we got tired on the staff retreat and went to bed.
That was a rough one too, though. We watched that one with Aquaman. He was an odd character in that one.
I'm going to go Frasier's family from Frasier because they're just so much fun to watch.
I can
And
see that. My mom likes that show.
they have a lot of dysfunction. What are you trying to say? She's family.
She is.
There's a lot of dysfunction and a lot of hilariousness. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the show that I'm watching right now, which is kind of embarrassing, but it's a show called White Collar. I don't know if anyone knows the show. It was a USA show.
Oh, wait, yeah. I love White
okay.
Collar. It was great.
So there's a couple in that, and it's Kelly from Saved by the Bell, and she plays the wife, and then the FBI agent
Yes,
husband.
such a good show.
They have the best dynamic in their marriage where they're behind each other, they're teammates, they both have their own careers and things that they've got going on. But so I've just kind of been thinking about that as we've been working on this series, and that's the show that I like mindless television where
Yeah.
it's like just put on an episode at night and so that. And then as far as like just like funny, I was an I Love Lucy girl. Like watching their
alright.
family dynamic and like just the craziness and the mistrust. I think there's some dysfunction and some function
Yeah.
there. And also when you cross over and they were real life husband and wife and then got divorced and it's all crazy. But
Yeah,
but that
there's a
was one
lot
of my
of stuff
favorite.
they put on that show that would not slide today.
Yes.
The humor, but it was so funny.
Yeah.
Did you like the new Frasier that came back? They got a new Frasier.
Yeah, I did not watch many episodes of it. I didn't
Okay.
get too far into it.
I am surprised you didn't say Bluey. I thought one of
I
us
thought
was
it.
going to say it.
When you went cartoon, I thought, oh, Blue would be a good
Yeah.
one. But I felt like
They're not even.
That's like
dysfu-
cheating.
Yeah, they're just so great.
Yeah.
They actually made
More
me
of
feel
like
bad
a
about my
Dexter's
parenting.
Laboratory kind of guy.
Oh yeah, I liked Dexter's.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, laboratory.
Oh, Dexter and his sister.
Yeah, I love the accent. It's cool.
What do you think, either from watching TV or just kind of being in the world, What are some of the biggest misconceptions about family that are kind of out there in our culture right now?
I mean, I think it's been prevalent for a really long time, especially because of TV, but the whole phrase, like, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, I do feel like we all have this picture of what, like, a perfect Americana, like, more in the West, like, what a perfect family looks like. White picket fence, 2 kids, golden retriever. You go to Disneyland in the summer. I think that we all have this image that we're attaining to as it becomes family, or, like, this is what we strive to be, is what I see. And it is set a lot by TV culture, actually.
Yeah.
So,
I know. It's interesting.
yeah, it is
I
really
wrote a
interesting.
paper on this in high school, and I never stopped thinking about how families in sitcoms impact families in real life.
Oh, for
and
sure.
vice versa.
Yeah.
I think for me, there's this thought that we're supposed to a certain extent, like, distrust other generations in our family, or
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's so much people speaking just really terribly towards each other, parents to children, children to parents, ignoring grandparents. Like, I just think there's almost this idea that each generation is out to get the other ones, that can really seep into our subconscious when you see it all the time, of like
Yeah.
just people being rude to each other.
Yeah, there's also like this theme where you see, if you really want to find real relationship, it needs to be in friends and not in family. Almost like families is so toxic and there's so much weight. But if you can find a real friend outside of that context, that's where you're able to experience family and stuff. And I mean, it's just unfortunate to see it kind of sold that way.
Yeah, even that. Oh, so sorry, but that phraseology, like chosen family, like in our breaks with our family, I have seen people kind of elevate the chosen family, quote unquote. So sorry.
No, I mean that actually is exactly where I was thinking with it. That I can think of how many friends that I've had where they have no relationship with their parents or the rest of their family because dysfunction, something went wrong. You know, I got really mad at mom and dad. We haven't talked in 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of that mindset. I mean, there is that blood is thicker than water mentality with family. My family matters more to me than a lot of my friends, but yet I spend my daily life with my friends, not my family, because they're hundreds of miles away. So just that misconception of kind of that balance between those two of chosen family and family.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. I think this whole series, we're going to just be uncovering things. Like, I couldn't think of the right phrase. And then someone before the 11 o'clock service at North on Sunday was like, stepping on people's toes. You're going to be stepping on people's toes through this whole time. But I don't even think it's that. I think it's all of us walk through seasons of dysfunction. All of us, if we take the time and are willing to examine our own hearts and our family dynamics, can recognize different patterns where sin has been able to get into the middle of it. And so we kind of need that. It's almost like our hearts are getting stepped on a little bit, but it's that conviction of the Spirit to be like, no, there's better. Like, I have something better for you. So it's a little bit uncomfortable. And so rather than just kind of work straight through the message, which we may end up doing, I just kind of wanted to start with, like, what part of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel's story, what hit the closest to home? What are some of the things that came up as you were preparing it? Whether it made it into the sermon or not, and we'll just make sure we kind of hit all of the parts of the sermon, but just kind of talking.
I love the hiding part because I feel like for me, I know that, like, I'm not a flight or fight type person. Well, I guess I am. I'm a flight. I don't want to deal with confrontation. So for me, as we're working through this and they're hiding and they're just like, I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's where I land. And I thought that was just a really, as we worked through that, I love that whole point that, like, even in our shame, God still covers us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm a natural hider also. / freeze. If I'm really stressed, I don't even fight or flight. I just freeze.
Yeah, I felt like this series unlocked so many good things to explore and to challenge us with. The spouse dynamic is always challenging. I wish the Bible gave a little bit more insight as to what that moment looked like, specifically the serpent deceiving Eve, because I just can't fully fathom what what would cause Adam to just literally be there and
Yeah.
never
Not do
interject.
anything.
And I
or
love
say
that you
anything?
called that out. That Adam
Yeah.
was standing right there. A lot of times we think even the serpent had their whole conversation, and then like she went and found Adam, but it says he was
Yeah.
right there with her.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
So that kind of like throws me off. And there's a lot of different ways I guess we can try to spin it. But at the end of the day, even at that moment where she turns to him and gave him the option to eat, even then he could have said,
Yeah, he could have said no.
baby girl, I can't. I'm sorry. This is where our roads part, maybe. But he went and ate. And,
It's been a good run.
these 3 days were good. It was good knowing you. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we can resonate with and learn from and be reminded that we're in good company. Like
Yeah.
in our dysfunction, we're not alone in it. So it shouldn't bring us shame. It should let us know we're in good company and God still wants to kind of work in us in those areas. So
Yeah. Yeah. I really loved the intro to this. I loved everything, but I really did love how we set it up. There was, we were talking about, and I think you kind of crafted some of this language of the intro, but it was some of us have such a good thing going, but we can't even focus on what we do have because we
Yeah.
are so busy looking at other people's
Yeah.
highlight reels. And it just, the word perfect has been on my mind as we've been exploring this.
Yeah.
And even as we walked through Holy Week during our Wake the Dead series, we kind of explored this idea of perfection and that perfection does not exist outside of Jesus. But time and time again, we do see us in our best attempt trying to achieve this perfection without him. That's just kind of where my mind has been of just like, who told you that you needed to do this? Like, who told you this is what perfection looks like? Or I don't know. There's just been a lot of conversations I'm having with myself, I was going to say in my mind, just about like what we're putting out there, what we're pretending, what fig leaves are we covering ourselves
Yeah.
up with now? Like,
That was one of the questions I wanted to talk
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Like, what do you think? So, if you weren't here on Sunday or you aren't following the thread, like Adam and Eve, they sin, they experience shame, and then they try to cover themselves with fig leaves. And what we talked about is later on, God gave them actual clothes made from animal skin. But we talked a little bit about how we try to cover ourselves with fig leaves, proverbial ones, and they break and they fall apart, and they're not
yeah.
they're
It's a
not
fig
made
leaf.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about what are some of the things that you think are those proverbial fig leaves
Yeah.
that we're trying to cover our shame with in these
Yeah.
days instead of letting God fully cover us
Yeah.
with his righteousness. And
What's funny is even as you're saying this, I'm thinking there's a fig tree behind my house. The leaves aren't even that big. So just even thinking like we can try our best like in our own self to cover, but even then they don't even do like a good enough job. But I think the obvious one is social media, just because again, you can curate. And I was thinking about this word curate as I was brushing my teeth this morning. If it is curated, is it really perfect? Like
Interesting.
if it is curated, does it, because I feel like there is no perfection other than him. And so something that's curated is still to me giving the illusion of, but so much of our lives on Instagram are curated, even in this like new Gen Z movement where kids are posting like blurry pictures to be like more.
I feel like the old person. I'm like, tell me what's happening on this Instagram.
Let me tell you guys. let me fill you guys in.
And what is the TikTok?
But it's like this thing, and you know, I'm saying it as if I have not participated myself.
yeah, I've seen a few blurry pictures
Okay.
from you.
This is why I didn't accept your friend
She's a
request.
youth pastor, though, guys. Yeah.
But just like, you know, like a blurry picture or just like a candid moment. But like we have curated candidness. We have curated this, and even that is a look. That's an art. Like it's none of it's real.
Yeah.
Like I have tried my hardest. This is why I deleted my Instagram recently. Like fully deactivated my account because I recognized in myself I was curating something that wasn't like happening. It wasn't like I was, you know, intentionally doing this, but I remember times in high school and college spending hours like trying to take the perfect candid shot. So do you think this is something we hide
Yeah,
behind?
it is so interesting.
We want to give off the illusion of candid. We want to give off the illusion of breezy. So we hide behind these things because we can control that. I can control through Instagram how you see me.
Yeah.
And what you think about me.
So funny. So Emma ran a race this weekend.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I missed
What
you.
place did you
I
finish?
was refilling water and it was crazy.
I wanted to shout, but I was so.
You were running. I wanted to see you
were
and
up at the
shout.
top of the hill, and I was just like, I was like, I just need to finish.
Good.
You weren't even there.
But kind of to the point.
that was. It's not
So I was working a water station at this race, and we were like handing out water to all the runners, and it took it chaotic for a
It
little.
was chaotic when I
season
passed you
there.
guys.
But there was one runner who went back, like started to take the water from a kid. He was really cute. Went back and pulled her phone out and wanted to get a video of her coming up to get the water again. And I mean, whatever. Like, she's got her priorities. It was just a check to me of like, her focus is how can I present that I did this race to the world that I'm going to share this with, not how can I do my best to finish this
how
race
can
at the
I
time.
fin-
Which,
yeah.
fine. Like, she's
Yeah.
like, it's a race. I wasn't even running it, like, nor will I ever. But it was kind of, to your point, a moment to realize like, oh, we are pulling ourselves out of reality to curate something.
Yeah, and not even a knock on. So many people these days, it's crazy. And if this is you, props to you, because it is an art form. Being an influencer this day and age is an art form. There's so much content, and for you to make something that people are watching is just unfathomable to me. But I've seen videos of like behind the scenes of influencers, and it's just them moving their tripod and like redoing something time and time again to get the shot. So what you're inevitably looking at is not their day in the life.
Yeah, it's a good point. What about non-social media fig leaves? Because I think there are a lot of them, and we can kind of pick on social media because it's easy
the
to
big
see,
one.
and
Yeah.
it deserves to be picked on a little bit. But but there are other things we can pick on too.
Yeah, I would say our accomplishments is a big one. The things that I do well now define me. And the problem with all these fig leaves is there's a kind of an expiration date on all of it. At some point, it starts drying up and withering, and your skill set is not as sharp. There is someone better. And if you allow those things, your accomplishments, to define you, what happens when those accomplishments stop? What happens then to your image and your self-worth? So that's a real dangerous thing for us.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I'd actually almost answer it with a secondary question: is show me what you put your identity in, and I'll show you what your fig leaves are. Because we bury ourselves in our jobs, we bury ourselves in what our kids are doing or what our neighbors think. And so for me, it's that whatever I'm putting out there is my identity.
Yeah.
And again, whether I promote that on Instagram or wherever, I think that's what our fig leaves are, is whatever it is that we're trying to showcase for the world to see.
Yeah, because it could be anything. Like for some people, it's academia, like what I know, and I'm hiding behind what I know. And for some people, it's their family, like, look how dedicated I am to my family. And for some people, it's work. I think social media is the one that screams in our faces, and it's easy for us to pick and be like, well, I'm not on it. Like, I don't have it or whatever, but it's like, okay, but we all have them.
Yeah.
It might just not be as
Social
obvious.
media is almost the outlet for it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all doing the same thing that those influencers are doing. We're all doing in some way, shape, or form in our lives, whether we're just outputting it to social media or to our neighbor next door. It's kind of all the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it can be relationships for me. Like, the places where I'm the most tempted to feel shame are when I feel like I've let someone down in a relationship capacity. And then my gut instinct, when I'm like not healthy, when I'm wanting to use a fig leaf to try to cover it on my own and not allow God to kind of work in that and heal that relationship, will be to pour myself into other relationships and be like, okay, well, I failed at this one. So rather than trying to like attempt to make it better, I'm going to compensate by being like the best sister here, or like the best aunt, the best friend. So it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
But when I'm healthy, when I'm allowing God to come in, when I'm not feeling shame about that and just kind of owning up to, hey, I messed up, then it is always directed in repairing the first one. That's why in that example I gave, when I was like jokingly like, if I wrecked Justin's scooter and I was feeling shame for that, I would like probably still try to make it right, but then avoid Justin for the rest of life. I was like, that's only half kidding. Because a lot of times there's that idea of like, oh, well, I failed here. Now I need to move on and just try somewhere else.
Yeah.
Man, we all deal with it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad we're going here, even though it's a little uncomfortable sometimes. What about jealousy? You brought up a great example, and I have to admit, I didn't get as far as jealousy in either of yours yet. I was tired. I took a nap yesterday. But you gave an example of the first time, maybe not the first, but one of your first memories of being jealous. So I thought maybe we could all kind of talk about that first experience of jealousy that we remember. If you want to talk about a more recent one, by all means, you're free to. But
Well, the one I used, growing up as a kid, G.I. Joes were absolutely huge. And the greatest toy ever made, in my opinion, was this particular G.I. Joe toy. And it's the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. It's 7.5 feet long.
crazy.
Wow.
3 feet wide. And like it was that thing. It's like nobody owned one, but we all knew someone who owned one.
It was the size of this table.
Yeah, it's
That's
ginormous.
insane.
Yeah.
And one of my neighbors had one, and that was about the only reason we ever went over to his house to play was because he had
guy.
this thing, and it was the greatest, coolest thing. And I kind of challenged the congregation. I'm like, if you were anywhere within like 4 years of age and 13 years of age through the mid 80s, I guarantee you this was a toy that you wanted because it was the coolest. And so, my neighbor Dana had one. I was extremely jealous of him. And, I want to say mean and vile things, but I don't think that's fair.
Yeah. You were young. It doesn't
Yeah.
Growing up, I grew up on military bases, so we moved around quite often. But one time we were living in Hinesville, Georgia. It's wonderful. I tell people that we lived in Savannah, but really we lived in Hinesville. And I had this neighbor, and her name, I'm not going to mention her name because I actually adore her. She's great. It was the first time I had ever felt like self-conscious. And I don't know if like guys really experience this maybe to the degree that girls do, and maybe you do, but so hyper aware on like the first day of third grade, what she was wearing versus what I was wearing. And then so hyper aware of what her bedroom looked like versus what my bedroom looked like. So hyper aware that she had an American Girl doll. And we did not.
gosh.
Oh,
American Girl doll
You
was
talk
gonna
about
be
the
mine.
best story, the best toy ever made. I wanted American Girl doll so bad, and we just couldn't afford one. Like that just wasn't where our priorities were. And I also have a deep fear of dolls. So every time I would ask for one, my mom would be
understandable. They're
like,
freaky.
I'm sorry, what are you asking for? But I wanted what she had so badly. And as I've gotten older, I recognize what she really had that I wanted was just her family dynamic was something that I craved so deeply. But I just remember for years, we were in school together from like 3rd to 6th grade. For years, everything this girl did, I wanted, and I had to have it. And it's crazy. But the Lord has restored that, in me, restored me because I love this girl. She's
That's
great.
awesome.
So, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you want to Stretch Armstrong? I don't know
thought
why.
it
For
was
some reason,
kinda
I thought
cool.
you were going to talk about
Yeah, I
Stretch
can see him
Armstrong.
do the Stretch Armstrong thing. I never
You
had
want
one.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots?
I was I don't think I'm a real jealous person, but I do remember growing up video games. I had an Atari and a Nintendo, and that's where it stopped. So while folks had Sega Genesis and they're playing Sonic,
Yeah.
I was so jealous. Then they had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and PlayStation, and I never got any of those game systems. So I never got to, unless I was playing at their house, I never got to really experience the joy that those systems brought you. So I remember middle school. Yeah, I was definitely jealous and hating on a lot of people.
Yeah. My very first moment of jealousy is my very first memory. I don't know what that says about me, but it was when I was 2 and my younger brother was born and I went to meet him at the hospital. I don't remember anything else for years after this, but my parents had given me a book as like, the baby got you a gift, like everything they say you're supposed to do so that like I would be excited. And when it was time to like take my brother from my mom's room back to the nursery, I don't know how they do it now, but at the time my dad and I like just
Wheeled him down
wheeled
there.
him down to the nursery and then like checked him in. And the nurse took the book out of my hand to put with the baby. Like she just assumed that it was the baby's book. And I was like, send him back. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, and it was so strong. I think that's why I remember it. That was just
Wow.
like, no,
Yeah.
that's mine. That's not his. And like, then it turned into, these are my parents. Why are they his parents too? And so then actually I would bite him when my parents were not looking
Nice.
so that he would cry because maybe they would send him back if he cried all the time. Bo, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. You're one of my favorites now. You're tied with Mac. I have two
lying.
brothers. I'm not lying. But
I love the calculatedness of, and then I bit him.
yeah.
I love that. Just
Yeah.
because
I've always been a schemer.
having an almost 2-year-old who I'm trying to train not to bite, I'm like, why are you biting me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wasn't biting my parents. But then I think like when I understood a little better, it actually had to do with the fact that my parents were raising us to love and honor the Lord. And the places I would feel jealous were people who could watch TV shows and things that we couldn't. And like, we had one of those old TVs where you walk up and like have to flip the thing. There was no Disney Channel. Like there wasn't even cable for a while. And so people would show up and they would be talking about either things that we didn't have, like Disney. Disney would do free trials every now and then.
I remember those.
And you could just watch it without having a subscription. And I would watch a lot during those times. Or like when I got older, like I know 90210 was one of those shows that everyone talked about and I wasn't allowed to watch it. Like, or MTV and I wasn't allowed to watch MTV. And so I would feel jealous that their parents understood and like they could fit in better and I would have to show up and be at lunch and like,
Did you have a MySpace?
no, this was way before MySpace.
I wasn't allowed to have a MySpace.
It's okay.
To that point, though, we all kind of gave, for the most part, early and even somewhat trivial things. But what about now? Like, what makes you jealous now as an adult? Because let's be honest, people are probably watching. These are probably adults.
Yeah.
And they're all going, yeah, I remember that toy or this or what. But how do we relate that to now?
Got quiet.
Yeah.
I know.
Good question.
I think I'm just trying to think because jealousy for me has always just been a very core motivator. And it's not something that, I mean, I came to Christ 10 years ago last week. So it has been like a journey for me to feel like I'm like always cleaning out my proverbial closet of things. And so recently, one of the biggest things that I wanted to work on was being confident in myself and recognizing that what steals my confidence is when I do begin to look around and get jealous of what everybody else is doing, which is a big reason why I have deactivated my Instagram.
That's why I got rid of my
Yeah.
social media when I did.
Can I tell you, I've had it deactivated and off my phone for maybe 2 weeks, like nothing serious. I'm sleeping better. Like I'm not thinking about what other people are doing. Like I'll see Joey scroll on it and I'll see like what a friend is doing. And I'm just like, I don't even want to see that. Like I love that friend, but I just like I don't want to know what they're doing because I'm so fine with what I'm doing. But I think for a long time it was a lot of, especially in early motherhood, my jealousy came from, am I doing this right? Like,
And apparently people have opinions on,
Oh,
on parenting.
people have opinions
Everybody.
on how you bring your kid into the world. And then after you bring your kid into the world, like everything you're going to do. And to me as a working mom, it was loud. It was just so loud. Everybody's opinions and everyone's and I'm on Substack now, and even on Substack, like I have to like not listen to some writers or read some people's writings because even in that I'm like but for me, I think jealousy showed up a lot in like my very, very early postpartum stage where I'm like, I can't look at what these people are doing because they're not raising my Drew. Like, and so I have to be the best mom for Drew and the best wife to Joey, and I can't be the best mom to Drew if I'm trying to pretend to be so and so.
Yeah.
So that I think that's where jealousy showed up for me, and then this is how I'm trying to combat it. So
Yeah, because I think to the point in the message we talked about how jealousy happens when
When you
we look
look around.
Yep.
And sometimes our phones make it so easy to look around, not just at the people you know, but then at people that you never would have met otherwise who are like, yeah, I'm with you.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I know for me, like, through all the different workplaces and stuff like that. I mean, obviously there's easy things to look at. You know, someone goes on a vacation or they get a, we love to RV and someone gets a new RV and I'm like, oh man, I want that. But for me, the deeper thing through all the jobs and stuff that I've had over the years and stuff like that, I think for me, like a lot of times seeing people get promoted, and it's not even like, not the people you go, oh yeah, they're going to get that job, they're going to get that promotion. It's the people you're looking at going, seriously? That guy? Like, that guy does less work around here than I do. Like, that guy doesn't do anything, you know? And I know for me, there's definitely a few moments when you're seeing those elevations in people. And I really had to fight that for a while going, okay, all right. I guess a simple way to break that down for me is there was a time frame where I was shooting photography and going to a lot of NASCAR races and shooting photographies, and I would get into the track and I have my cheap little camera. It's great. I do great work. I take great pictures, and I look to the guy next to me and he's got a $5,000 camera and a $10,000 lens, and all of a sudden I just shrink. I'm like, how in the world?
Yeah.
How in the world can I ever take pictures like this guy? How can I ever get what this guy's, the shots and all that kind of stuff? And then it inevitably it'd take me a while, but something inside of me would go like, look, you're here because someone likes what you do.
Yeah.
Focus on you. Do what it is that you do. You're not that guy. You don't have his equipment. You don't have his talent. You don't have his skills, but I've got something different.
Yeah.
So
That's great, Justin.
That is good.
Yeah.
I feel like this is honestly not one like I can identify a lot more with the shame part of this message. The jealousy one, not that it's never impacted me, but I think in the last 10 years, it's just not been, it's not been one that I struggle with as much, which it's not to say it's bad for people who do struggle with it. But I think when I got rid of social media, when I learned to stop looking around, and then the other thing, if I ever feel it kind of creeping up, I'll go back and be like, well, what decision would I want to make differently in my life?
Yeah.
And usually there aren't. Like, yes, there are mistakes and things that we make, but it's like, no, I wouldn't choose to be in any other job that I'm in now. Like, and that kind of helps too. But just to honestly answer your question, but in my 20s, man, it was every person getting engaged. I'll tell you that honestly. That was tough, single in your 20s and just like, why is it happening to her? When's it going to happen to me? But now, at almost the end of my 30s, which is crazy, now I'm so thankful. Like I can honestly be like, I'm so glad that God knew better than what I thought I wanted.
That part.
What about you?
So I think the thing that, because I was trying to really picture how unhealthy jealousy is and what it actually does. So I was trying to think of a moment
That's
where
where
I
I'm going.
had that
Do that segue.
feeling. I think the season that I felt that jealousy is when I felt overlooked by God. Like I'm watching everyone else being able to go out there and preach and in an organized fashion, with a team, and I couldn't help but to be jealous of their platform, jealous that they were able to be in ministry, full-time ministry, and this is what I went to seminary for, and this is what I felt called for, and yet I'm not seeing anything. I think that was a season that there was a lot of fights that I had because I would leave and saying, God, it's all about you. It doesn't matter. But then the moment I see someone else raise up, especially if I think I was going to say trash, they're not trash, but if they weren't that great, I would be like, psh, of course they get this opportunity. So that one was it was a journey that I kept beating myself over it. Then I felt like I was freed of it. And then if something reminded me of it again, I knew it was something that I still hadn't worked out yet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the passages that we read on Sunday about jealousy comes from James chapter 3, verses 15 and 16. It says, "For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are they are earthly, unspiritual and demonic.
Yeah.
For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind." I was even surprised in doing the research, like, that's harsh.
Yeah.
Why is scripture so harsh? Like, why does God care so much that we get rid of jealousy?
Well, just jealousy is not of him. Like, I think the emphasis on it being demonic lets you know when I feel jealousy, it's not something from the Lord. And I think that we hear that and we're like, okay, like whatever. if it's not from the Lord, then it can only ever be from one other place, and that's demonic. And we're uncomfortable with that idea of like demonic, and we're not going to get Ghostbusters out here. But I just think like it is so important that we recognize that when you feel that feeling, that is not a feeling that the Father would ever want you to have. And so that's a check in our own self. And I wish sometimes I could go back in time and like see 8-year-old me comparing my friends' Old Navy pink khaki shorts, or what were they? Bermuda shorts that everybody was wearing, and being jealous of them, and just being like, that's not something that you were ever supposed to live in. Like, you don't have to live in this. It's crazy.
Is that why you have so many of those shorts now?
Actually, I don't have Bermuda shorts, but your children have been buying them. So if you want to
Blame
flip
it
the
on my
script.
kids. Where do you think they saw it from?
You.
Who's their youth pastor?
Wow,
Who's their parent?
I did not tell your daughters to buy jean Bermuda shorts.
Oh, that's my girl.
I wonder if it's so harsh too, though, because jealousy, and like, I mean, I know all sin has consequences, but I feel like jealousy, it spreads so quick, and I feel like it's, it's like an accelerator. So I almost wonder if that harshness is really kind of to like, I don't know, maybe to snap you back into like mindset real quick, like, whoa, hold
Yeah.
up. This is big. This is a real big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like jealousy puts us into this place where God is not enough. And
Yeah.
I need to find this, and I need this to meet my need, to fulfill me, to give me a sense of purpose. It pulls me away from his nature. It pulls me away. In a lot of ways, it makes me more bound to that thing rather than being free.
Yeah.
And I think
good.
that's why it uses that term demonic. While some would hear it and say, bro, you're being so extra, like stop being that extreme. I think that's what the enemy wants us to think. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It brings us down such a dark path that in that moment, God is not enough.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place for us to be, to find other things to fill our tank versus him. So
It's crazy. I think this whole series, even like in sermon prep today, not to give everything away, but just points to this idea of really in all of it, you have to decide who God is to you. Is he who he says he is, or is he not? And at the root of jealousy, I do feel like there's this thing in us that has to check, does he really love me or does he not? Like I think of Cain and Abel. Like it was never about, God was never saying, why can't you be more like him? He was just saying, hey, this is not how we do this. Next time, choose better. Like, just next time, do it a little. If you want this reaction from me, this is how to do it. But he was never like comparing the two of them. It's just so crazy. So much of what we do, if you pull it all back, all points to, well, who do you believe God is for you? I think that's the motivator behind it. Because if you don't think that God is the God who sees you, or the God who cares for you, or the God who will provide for you, you'll see what somebody else's has and think, well, I've got to do it on my own. So,
Yeah. I think about, I don't know which one, but multiple places in scripture, it talks about how we are the body of Christ and we all have different roles to play. And there's one passage where I think it says like the hand can't want to be something else.
but,
Like, this is a terrible paraphrase, but Google it or something. And the passage will come up. And I think there's some of that too, like in that jealousy. A lot of times it's when we're trying to play a part that's not the part that God has for us, or not in this season. And it doesn't just, like, it pulls us away from the body, because then we're off here trying to like separate and do this thing that doesn't fit into the whole picture that God has placed people in their season and in their place. But it also separates us from him. Like, because then we're disconnecting from the source. And, it's harsh language.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm thankful for harsh language, because it's kind of that like, pay attention. Because this is demonic and evil. And like, but all of us can laugh about how we remember the first times we felt jealous, because it's that common. And I think that's kind of the crux of this series. Like, dysfunction is common, and yet God wants more for us. And it's not so we can pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and be like, I'm not going to be jealous anymore. I'm not going to experience shame anymore. Like, it's because he steps in. And so I just like, of all that we talked about, was there anything in preparing or even in the moment of preaching that you just felt the heart of the Father towards all of us and our dysfunction?
I really, I believe it was the second point there that, I think dealing with the jealousy thing, that, it starts when we take our eyes, we start looking around, and that the back part of that point, the hope of that point is that even when we're not looking and we're looking elsewhere and we're trying other things, God sees us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the part that really kind of like pulled me back going, oh gosh,
Yeah.
boy, I've messed some of this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's a theme that we felt in this story, but I feel like we feel it even more in your story that you're going to be sharing. And in David, it's his grace. Like the fact that in the midst of so much of our dysfunction, he'll still look to us and give us that way out, even when many times we take that door and we kind of close it right in his face. He'll help us again and show us. And there's so many mistakes that they made. As I think about all of us, we probably got so many mistakes we've made, how his grace is still sufficient and he still extends it. And that's all a byproduct of his love for us.
Yeah.
So I think it showed big time in the story of Adam and Eve. But I think as we continue to look at all the different families in the Bible, like it will highlight how his grace works
Yeah.
and how much we ought to really be appreciative of the grace that he extends us, even when we don't give him credit for it.
Yeah.
And to add into that just real quick, that was the thing that we kind of talked through today, was that mindset of these people are still considered righteous. And again, not trying to jump too far into the next few weeks, but these people were still viewed favorably, but yet
Not
we see
king.
every mistake.
Still loved, but not.
But not favored.
Still marked and
But-
protected from what he deserved. But
But we see where these people screw up and make mistakes, but God still does something incredible. And we still look back at a lot of these people going, that guy was awesome. That was a man of God. That was, I think that's the thread that I think we can pull through this whole series is like, yeah, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have family dysfunction. We're going to mess it up.
Yeah.
But he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even one of the things that really hit me when we were writing through this message, and I believe it's in the earlier part of the message when we talk about how the Lord covers us. And you had such a crazy good story to like
I know, it was
illustrate. It was
perfect.
so good. I literally
I mean, I didn't. I
no,
just happened
it was
to be there.
perfect. I literally
Didn't make it happen.
Yes, it was me.
shush, shush, shush.
She's like, I nailed it.
I literally looked at Joey like 5 times. I'm like, is there a story that we have? Like, I was like, can we make something up? Like, but that just felt disingenuous. I can think of the millions of times I mess up, and Joey has come to my rescue a trillion times. I've had friends, I've had stories of bosses taking the blame for me. But when I think about myself, and if I'm choosing to cover other people, God covers us ultimately. But I do think that we as believers forget, like, we could also cover people. And we're not talking about the covering of like things that really do need to be exposed and things that need to be walked out in correction. But, and this is completely off tangent, but I don't think we realize that gossip, and when we're gossiping and jealousy can lead us to gossip
Absolutely.
and points to all of that. There's this story in Genesis of Noah's family, and one of Noah's sons comes and finds him drunk. And he goes and tells the other 2 brothers. He's like airing his father's stuff out there. Now, at first few glances, you're like, okay, like what's the problem here? The other 2 brothers don't want to shame their father. So they back up into the tent and throw the blanket over them, not shame him. And this was just with the Lord's words to me. But I just remember the Lord being like, what are you choosing to do? When someone is messing up or somebody slips up, are you turning around and are you using this as an opportunity to gossip? Are you using this as an opportunity to show other people?
Yeah.
My goodness, that has like stuck like gum to my heart, just because I think of in all of us the ways that it can seem so, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I'm just telling people they need to know, like, I'm just getting it off my chest, and we don't recognize the damage that can do, and what we can also play a part in undoing people's shame, and like coming behind them and saying, no, it's like, it's okay, I'll help you.
Yeah, because even where there's correction, there's no room for shame in that process. Like, I think there's a way that we can even correct and hold people accountable and walk with them that's also being used by the Lord to cover their shame.
So no, that's really been a place where personally, I feel the Lord kind of met me in this message. But even like as I was talking to people after, just the amount of people that this is the reality for so many of us, and reality for so many people that I didn't know it was also their reality. And just the surefire fact that no one's family is perfect, even though you may look at, like I always look at your family. You've done such a good job raising your girls.
And Dom.
And Tom, but sorry. Hey, Dom, you've done such a good job at raising your kids. I think it's because I want all girls, or I have a daughter where I'm just like, that's the goal line. And you and Marilyn walk in such humility to be like, no, we're not perfect. Like we've screwed up and all of that. But it can be easy in times to be like, oh no, they're so perfect. But yeah, you've done such a good job of being like, no, we're not responsible for all of it. Yeah.
No, I think what makes it easy for us is because like Marilyn and I could look back on our childhood and know the issues we created for our families and for ourselves. And I know my girls all have a choice in the matter. To see them choose so well, where they're not giving us the heartache that even we knew we gave our parents. We're super fortunate for it and so blessed. And it's not nothing I really brag about and take credit for. I'm just fortunate that they're choosing well.
Yeah. Other than the denim jean jorts, they're going to yell at me about this on Wednesday for talking about it.
Yeah, fair. I think my biggest takeaway from this message is the passage from Psalm 103, which I think if you've grown up in church, you've heard at least bits and pieces of it, not necessarily all together, that the Lord is compassionate, slow to get angry, filled with love. But that line in verse 10, he does not punish us for all our sins. He does not deal harshly with us as we deserve. There's something so beautiful in being able to get to a place where you can openly acknowledge that what I deserve is death. Like, I know how messed up my heart is. Like, I know all of these places. And yet, even in the Old Testament, like this was written before Jesus came and God knew his plan. Like, that it says he does not deal with us the way that we deserve. There's just so much grace there to your point. Like it's overwhelming when you think about it, and so freeing too, to be able to be like, I can be open about my sin because he literally removes it as far as the east is from the west, which is infinitely far. They never touch. They keep moving in opposite directions. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when my dad told me that. This is such a tangent. It's fine. And he was like, that's how far he removes it. He literally explained, like, east keeps going this way, west keeps going this way. They never touch. And then if I would ever remember something that I had done wrong in the past, I'd be like, oh my gosh, God forgot about this. He removed it as far away from me, but he knows all of my thoughts. And now I've thought about it again. And like, and
did I remind him?
Man.
So
but
how
even in
far
that,
is east from west if you believe in flat earth?
I don't know. 'Cause
I don't know what.
There's a
How
firmament dome
close?
somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I'm being stupid. Don't pay me no. That was
we
for my
never
brother.
do. Okay.
What did you just?
I said that was for my brother.
So in Fast and Furious 18, they found out it was a flat number.
These are the grandchildren in that one.
What about cutting room floor? Is there anything that didn't make it in or that didn't make it into this conversation that you want to make sure we cover today?
I did have one goofy one. It actually kind of goes back to your first point about Instagram and that whole mindset. As we were kind of in the intro, as we were kind of walking through that, curating that perfect family, I did have that one thought in my mind that, like, I think often we think of filters in the Instagram world or whatever photo app, we think of them as funny. But the truth of it is, nobody uses, like, the cat ears, right?
No, that's not
Did
cool.
you not see that viral
Well,
clip in COVID of the lawyer
There's a
showing?
few. There's a few, but the thing is, those are novelties.
Yeah.
But what everybody actually truly uses are the ones that makes them look better, makes them hides their faults and all that kind of stuff. So I actually just forgot to say that in the sermon. I don't know if that's real cutting room floor or just
Hey, it
forgetting
counts.
room floor.
Yeah.
I think a really practical thing is that if you do find yourself in a place where you do feel like it's hard to not look around, removing some of that. Like I don't share and I'm sure you don't either. We don't share that we're not on social media to like get a badge, but truly because we both recognize like this is not helping me. I think getting rid of the places in which you were looking around within reason, like don't go quit your job. Like maybe allow the Lord to minister to your heart a different way, but cut off the low-hanging fruit. Like just step away from, if it's a magazine that Better Homes and Gardens is making you super hate your house, unsubscribe.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
if
it could be Pinterest.
It could be
doesn't have to
Pinterest. It
be-
could be. I had a friend that literally could not stop dreaming about. We were in college and she couldn't stop dreaming about her perfect wardrobe. Like legitimately would dream, and she was like, "I just know the Lord's telling me to get off of Pinterest," and so she never got back. Like cut it that fast. So I just think practically there are things that we can do in order to stop looking around. You don't have to. You don't have to live in this.
Yeah, that's good. You got anything?
No, I felt good. That was
Watch
good.
Fast and Furious 17.
No, start
In
earlier.
theaters this fall.
If you had to
Fast 10.
start from
Fast 10.
scratch, what Fast and Furious movie would you tell
Do you
someone
go
to
in
start with?
chronological order?
Which one would I what?
What would you tell someone to start with if they're
Oh, it would
Gonna
always
watch.
be number one.
okay?
Yeah, number one. Was
I like
classic.
the Tokyo one.
That one was trash. It should have never made it in the cut.
All
2
right.
and 3.
Ouch.
Forgettable.
Well, we've alluded to it a little bit already, but where are we headed
Oh my.
as we look at you?
Pastor Justin.
Yeah, this week is going to be a crazy week. Fair warning, PG-13
Yes.
minimum
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
week. We're going to be looking at Lot and his family and all of the craziness that has gone on there. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good.
I
One
feel
you
like
don't wanna
I feel like I'm
miss.
starting to blush already.
It's one you
thinking
don't want to
about it.
miss, but seriously, PG-13 warning. We're
Yeah,
telling you now.
that's lightly used.
There is
PG-13.
a lot of affection between this family. How about that?
Yeah, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Oh, I get
So salty.
This is what they call like cheesy Christian humor.
Yeah.
So
Or just cheesy humor in general.
Humor.
But,
Try
um,
humor.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all of these, it's going to be real. It's going to be a good one. Make sure that you invite friends, bring them. If you bring your kids, this would be a great week to make sure that you check them in to Hope City Kids, Pastor Joey, Pastor Michaela. They'll have awesome stuff for them.
Yep.
But it's going to be a good one. So we will see you there at both of our expressions on Sunday at 9 and 11.